Hey, what's up? I'm back. It's the Zim. This is the Zim's video. This is volume 2, part 6 of my Rideshare Experience video series. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this week I don't have sweaty pits, or hopefully I won't make any mistakes on all my other stuff. I've been making some mistakes lately, but nobody's pointing them out, so it's all good. So, if you're digging on my story as a rideshare driver, check out this podcast. I do a daily podcast, and I often talk about rideshare driving in it. Also, if you're digging on everything I'm doing with these videos, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/thezim. And yeah, you'd be helping all this stuff. I'm going to talk more about that in a second. And then be sure to sub to this video. Click the little, either on the screen, if you're on mobile, on the screen, there's a little subscribe, or I don't know, somewhere. But also, if you're, whatever, you know how to subscribe to YouTube channels, right? The red box, click subscribe, do it up. I'm like 124 subscriptions away from hitting 1K, which will allow me to monetize this channel again. Yay! So let's do it. Alright, time for shout outs. We have a few shout outs this week, not too many. Every week I shout out the new commentors to the channel. So people obviously been commenting for a long time, but anybody that I notice that's new, I give them a shout out because it's pretty rad. So we have 2 people new, Maya Fan, I guess, and John Woodside. Thank you guys for hooking it up with some comments on the videos, the rideshare videos. Awesome. And we have a very special shout out this week to Kobe Grimes 1234. Again, I'm gonna throw it up here. He became a Patreon supporter, so thank you so much for supporting this channel and all the things I'm doing artistically through the Patreon. Love it. If you decide to do the Patreon, I email you like a, hey man, thanks, an initial like contact through the Patreon page. So if you're, maybe look through your junk mail or whatever to see if you get it. So anyways, that's what's going on there. Alright, let's get into this. There's two kind of things in the corner, in the side there. You see how much I made in the main topic. And if you want to get to one of those quicker, just slide the timeline or click the timestamp in the description on the desktop version. You could jump forward. But we start out with how much I made, so let's do it. This is how much I made this week. I didn't do, so for the last 3 weeks prior to this week, I didn't do the top tier bonus. The last 3 weeks I did. This week I just went for the second tier bonus, the $160, which I get $160 for 105 rides. So I did a total of 113 and it took me 41 hours to do it. $970.40 was deposited, plus $9 in cash tips in my heads-up display. You can see tipping was, I got $100 on the app, and then plus 9, so 109. So just shy of my $1 per ride. I was a little bit disappointed because I missed breaking $1,000 by $21 this week. It's kind of a bummer. Those totally could have come in tips. By the time Sunday was all around, I could have, $21. How long would that take me to get in rides? If I got stuck with in San Diego, the lowest ride is $3, which you can get back-to-back $3 rides, so 7 rides, right? And that's a lot of rides, because it's usually 2 to 2.5 rides an hour. So somewhere between 4 to 7 rides, and who knows how long that would have taken. I was tired. I was ready to be done. Let's get into the daily breakdown. This is what I made each day. I worked Wednesday through Sunday. I brought my car for some just maintenance. I had just some issues. I'm not going to get into it. But so I got it back on Wednesday afternoon. Started driving right away on Wednesday afternoon, and then went through Sunday. So it was kind of a shorter week in some ways because I didn't get to start my Wednesday morning. That could have been the difference. If I was able to start Wednesday morning, I would have probably broken $1,000. So yeah, that's the way it goes. Still pretty sustainable amount of time driving. Like my body could handle it. Like as you've seen from the last few weeks, trying to get in that 145 rides just wreaks havoc on my body. The last slide is the hourly breakdown. That's where I drove each day in terms of hours each day. pretty typical what I do mornings and evenings. No, I don't work during the day, and then kind of just do it up on the weekends. So check it out. All right. If you have any questions around how much I made, I don't think I have anything to add this week to that myself at the moment. But we'll get into the main topic. Just hit me up in the comments. We'll get into the main topic. So the main topic came actually from a comment, and I'm going to read it real quick. It's all about debt, right? All about our debt. So let me read the comment, and then I'll probably read it again. But this is from Bubba NLA. He said, "Saw your debt meter moving down. Was getting the new ride, my new car, part of having a better strategy of paying off your debt. Hoping you could touch on this in one of vids, as a lot of express drivers wonder if transition is worth the trouble. Is this a short-term investment or you looking long haul?" Again, hopefully wondering if you can make a vid. Okay, so that's the question that inspired this idea. I think it's important to... So, a couple things. As you see, I have my debt right there in red. It's one of the most head-scratching things, questions I get on these videos. People are like, what the... Because I don't talk about it every time. It's like, why does he have his debt up there? Why does it go all over the place? And let me tell you why I started that first, and then we'll get into this. Why I started that whole debt thing was to see, can I make enough money off of this job to sustain my life and also pay off my debt? Clearly, and I started that like a year ago, and it's been a struggle. It hasn't been easy, and part of it, honestly, part of this whole video series is just, in general, is this kind of being, what's the word I'm looking for, not authentic, but realistic, I guess, the reality of this job, because, Lyft and the rideshare companies will tell you the glorified version. You can make $35 an hour and all this, and the best case scenarios all the time. And with this video series, I'm trying to say, this is what it's like doing this job. Can you actually survive as a human being and thrive at all doing this job? And it varies, of course. It varies on your overhead. It varies on the city you're in. So I wanted to show that really practical example. And then one of the things is, like, can you pay your bills and pay off any debt you have and still have a life? And do this job. I'd say it's, I don't know, I'm not convinced at this moment, but I'm doing the job because it's the job I do. It's the job I've chosen right now, and I've got other plans to go to grad school and stuff, so I'm not trying to switch jobs right now. I'm doing this job. So it was just kind of, can I pay off the debt while I do this job? And the answer is, not really. It's been really difficult. So let me tell you some of my strategy around that. Well, the other thing to mention is, there is this, like, of course you could pay off your debt. Like, if you have debt, and you're like, is Lyft or rideshare driving a way to do it? Of course it could be a way to do it, because what it boils down to is, like, how much do you make versus how much do you need to pay? What's your in versus your out? Like, what are those two equations, in a sense? And if you have another job and you're using rideshare as a supplemental job, maybe that's the answer. If you're doing rideshare full time, maybe it's not the answer, because you need to do it to pay all your bills. You're not just using it as a way to make extra money. You're using it as a way to live off of, and that's what I'm doing. So I decided to not look at all the possible scenarios and only tell you the scenario that I am existing in. And this is my scenario. So my strategy. So, as of right now, it says $6,934. It started at around $10,000 was my debt. Let's see, my story around it. When I started driving, I was trying to do everything I could do in terms of, like, everything I wanted to do. Like with my music and art and other things, and drive and do all this stuff. And I realized that, I'm not making any headway in paying off my debt. So what I decided to do was just focus on, okay, I'm going to pay off my debt and do it. I'm just going to do nothing fun, nothing extra, for the most part. And that hasn't been entirely true, but I'm getting closer to that reality of pretty much just none of my art or music really has taken a way back burner. I'm not paying any money toward that. I'm just, like, paying the money I need to survive, plus the money I need to pay off my debt. And when I was in the Express Drive program, I was able to put about $100 a week toward my debt, and that was making pretty significant headway toward it. When Lyft changed their, Bubba in LA asked, was getting a new ride significant in paying off my debt? No. I did not get my ride initially I did not get my new car to say this will help me pay off my debt. I got my new car because I knew I was putting this money aside toward my debt, and I knew I had the flexibility to mess with that if I wanted to, because when the Express Drive program switched, it got hard, it got just too unsustainable for me to continue having to drive every week. So I said, okay, I've had this flexibility, a little bit more flexibility in my finances. I'm going to shift that over to prioritizing a payment on a car rather than paying off my debt. So that's kind of the transition. That's why I transitioned from my car into paying off my debt, because I saw the flexibility when I started to focus just on my financial life and how that all created. The next thing that I realized is, as you've seen in previous videos now, the last few videos, the one I made about making $1,000 or more a week driving for Lyft, when you're in your own car is by far a better way to do it in terms of making more money flow through you. You have the option, and the flexibility goes way up. You have the option to actually make more money per week because of those bonuses you get. So I feel like at this point, the money I'm bringing in is higher than the money I was bringing in before, and I'm still able to kind of pay everything. I'm in this kind of holding pattern right now, though. So what I need, I hope this isn't too random, but hopefully you're getting a decent story, and feel free to ask me more specific questions about my story if you want. Right now, I did some math. I did this mega spreadsheet on everything I need to pay for to make sure I make my ends every week. And this is not like anything extra. This is like every week making sure I'm just surviving. So I need to make an average. Whenever I make, the average has to come out to be $894.75 every week I need to make sure I stay afloat. And so that's pretty much the top of, like, this week I only made less than $100 more than that. Yeah, less than $100 more than that. So it's like, if I'm making at least $900 every week, I'm doing okay, but that's not much else. That's only to survive off of. That's not to thrive off of, you know, or make significant impact on my debt. Because right now, right at this moment, I've gone back to paying minimums on my debt and shoveling. So my theory, my strategy right now is I'm paying minimum on my debt, and then making sure I'm a couple months ahead of my car payment, and making sure I have a savings account. So I'm shoveling every extra penny I can into a savings account that will essentially take care of things like any potential taxes that come up through the year. But last year I got money back for taxes, so I'm not worried about that as much. Any car maintenance issues, like I actually have a couple grand in the bank to make sure, like, if I need new tires, brakes, anything outside of warranty issues that start to come up with my car, I have that covered and I don't have to think about it. And that the money I got back from my taxes, I put in a separate account and said that's just sitting there waiting for stuff to come up. This is my savings account. So anything with my car, and then any health related issues. That's the big thing that always seems to knock me off course of being able to have success of paying off debt and having a life of thriving, is if I have some dental work I need to do coming up. That's going to cost me some money. I had some health stuff recently that I did that costed me a few hundred, maybe $1,000 total through all the co-pays and prescriptions and all this random stuff I had to do. So it was like, those are the type of things. And then I have kids. So the kids, my daughter's getting orthodontic work done soon, and just random things that I need to pay for, sports and camps and clothes and just all this other stuff that comes up. So, which is actually already part of my $894 factors in my kids' finances just a little bit. Or I said $94. Yeah, did I say that? So the bottom line is, of all that kind of stuff is, for me personally, my story personally, driving Lyft the way I'm doing it now does allow me to pay off my debt. It's just a very slow process, and I have to stay on top of it. I have to stay diligent with it. It's not like, oh, I made so much more money, I can just throw it on my debt. The way I work, I want to make sure I'm prepared for the future of being in my own car. The question Bubba asked was like, does being in your own car, how was that factor? So like I've explained this a little bit in previous videos, but the buying my own car there was a couple main factors. I did buy the car with the job in mind. I bought it as like a tool for the job. So I wanted to be in a comfortable car that I could drive 40 to 50 hours a weekend, that I felt good in, that I felt worked well for the job, that I could afford. There was a bunch of factors in there, the best of each scenario I could do. So that was why I chose the car. It wasn't necessarily, like I said already, I didn't go into buying my own car to pay off my debt faster. But in retrospect, or like because of it, I'm able to make more money now because of it. So hopefully it will show up. It will show in the long run. But I've only been a month and a half into it so far. So only time will tell, really, how much more, if it works out. Like so here's a little like housekeeping with this whole idea. Like with I've discovered that one of the things I stress, I've talked about many times, is having a realistic expectation so you don't get mentally burnt out, so you can get frustrated with this job. The realistic expectation of how much you can make every week on this job. And when I go for the 160 power driver bonus rather than the top one, when I go for that 160, my realistic expectation of what I can make is $900. So that's $10 or not even $6 more than what I need to make every week to survive. So hopefully, every once in a while it's better than that with a sustainable schedule of going for that 105 rides, the $160 power driver bonus. Because that 145 power driver bonus, 145 rides, is not sustainable. Even though that's the amount of money that would make me feel good about this whole job. If I made $1,300 a week, that would be like, yes, I am paying off my debt and it's going great. But that's not what I can sustainably make every week, so I can't plan on that. What I can plan on is what's sustainable in the San Diego market for my schedule that I choose to drive is safely $900 a week. So those are the factors. You just gotta be critical about what it is you're making. Track your money. And just be smart. Bottom line is be smart about how you're spending your money, how much you're bringing in, what you need to pay off, prioritizing the things that are priorities and all the like. We have about 2 minutes left, so that's about it. I mean, if you have any questions for me regarding debt and whether you can pay it off, and what my story is and how I'm doing it. So one of the things, I forgot to mention, so when I started this really serious kind of I'm going to pay off my debts kind of story, was one of the things I did was I opened 2 credit cards that are 0 APR, so I'm not paying any interest, I'm only paying principal. So hopefully my goal is, I have one that's a 12-month cycle that's basically ends in December, so I have a few more months to get that one paid off. There's about $3,000 on that one, and then I have $4,000 on the other one, which I have 18 months, so I have another 6 months after that. So my goal is so I transfer my balance so I'm not paying interest. So you might consider that if you're looking to see if Lyft can pay off your debt. So you might also do some other things, like not only start driving Lyft or rideshare jobs, but also align your debt better so you're not paying more than you need to. So those are my things. If you're digging on this whole story and you found this video because you want to become a driver, use my referral code ZIM200 and hook it up. You should let me know if you use my referral code and you actually are getting it, because sometimes I don't trust that Lyft always is accurate about when people actually start driving, because I get a lot of people to use my code, and one person in the past has used my code and I didn't see anything from it until he contacted me. So that's something to consider. So I'd love to actually get a message from you when you start driving. Say, I started driving. Are you getting any money? Let me know. That'd be awesome. The other thing is, if you want to follow along on a daily basis, at Rideshare Zim is my Instagram, and also that podcast I mentioned at the top. And that's it for today. Thanks a lot for watching. Be excellent to each other. May your rides be long and your tips be big.